All right, stand by. 10 seconds.
Ready, camera,
Go.
one.
Talent.
Ready, camera, two.
Roll for record.
Cue talent.
3, 2, 1.
Record.
Greetings and thanks for joining us. This is The Rundown, where we take a look at some of the big stories making headlines. I'm your host, John Phillips. Joining us from Washington, D.C. is PJTV contributor Michelle Fields. And here in studio, we're joined by the columnist for the Washington Times. You can get her online at washingtontimes.com, Tammy Bruce. On this special edition of The Rundown, we're taking a look at the biggest winners of 2014, and we begin with Tammy.
All righty. Well, my choice for winner of the year goes to Nina Pham and her dog, Bentley. Nina, of course, is the nurse who became infected with Ebola after treating a patient who had the virus in Texas. She is the first person in America to be infected here in America. That patient, of course, as we know, later died. Health officials decided to spare Bentley's life as his owner went into quarantine, but Bentley underwent a number of tests to ensure that he didn't have Ebola either. After they both were quarantined for about 3 weeks, the pair were reunited. Here is Nina and Bentley with the reunion.
Thank you again for helping take care of Bentley over the last 21 days. Caring for him as if he was your own and showing America that compassion and love is abundant and live. I feel like Bentley re-entering my life is yet another reminder of hope and encouragement for me moving forward and fulfilling my life to its fullest with my best friend at my side again. For right now, I am just excited to take Bentley home so we can start picking out his gifts for his 2-year birthday party this month. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bentley says thank you.
You know, there's so many reasons for her to be the winner, but so are we. This package reflected everything that is wonderful that we can look forward to. This is a horrible, incurable disease. This is a young woman with everything in front of her. She also, in her conversations with America and her comments, reflected her faith in God. It reflects the special relationship we have with our pets, especially after this. We were all worried because after the Spanish situation where the Spanish killed the dog of a nurse who has also since survived, she is now suing the government of Spain for that killing of her dog. So we see in it our own compassion, the benefits of the American medical system, a young woman who, through it all, is still vibrant and grateful. It's an inspiration, I think, for all of us. But for her, being the first one to get it here, it could have gone so wrong, and it's okay. And she's gonna have a fabulous life. So congratulations to her and Mr. Bentley.
It's a rough time being a nurse right now because other departments in the government aren't doing their jobs, where people are coming in from Western Africa and it's the honor system, where if you say you don't have Ebola or you haven't been exposed to it, okay, come on in, come one, come all. And the nurses are the ones that have to deal with it because they have to diagnose it, they have to touch them, they have to treat them, they have to do all that. And sometimes, unfortunately, they're exposed to these diseases. And this woman handled it with courage and grace. Really
Beautifully done. In addition, of course, they're in a position where they're cleaning up the mess of these patients. Of course, there's horrible physical ramifications of Ebola. Michelle, I know that there's a number of people who've we have Dr. Spencer in New York, but there's a lot of interesting reasons why other people who've got the Ebola here, including the other nurse, are not as, I suppose, embraced. Do you think that that's fair, or do you think that that's a reflection of just Nina being such kind of a perfect person? She did nothing wrong, and she is such a wonderful individual herself. Do you think that that's fair, that she is seen as kind of the hero in this regard?
I do, because I think it has a lot to do with the way that she handled the entire situation. I mean, she did it with grace and really, like you said, reflects sort of the American spirit, someone who, beat this and then goes out there and talks about America, talks about her dog, talks about her faith. And then you have the Ebola nurse, who doesn't want to be called the Ebola nurse, but I'm going to call her the Ebola nurse. The one who came over here and is out on her bike, trying to pretend she's some sort of martyr. And yet you look at this one, she actually got a ton of bad press in the beginning. If you remember, they were blaming her, saying that she wasn't wearing the right clothing. That's why she got it.
The CDC started that.
That ended up not being. I'm sorry?
The CDC started that.
The CDC started it.
Our own government started blaming her.
True. That wasn't true. And she could have come out there and been, rude and upset. She had every right to be upset. There was all this bad press in the beginning about it being her fault getting Ebola, which it was not her fault. And she went out there and she, was eloquent and lovely. And I think she has every right to be sort of the hero in this story. And then the crazy one over in New Jersey who's riding her bike and doesn't care about her neighbors, she should be the villain. She is the villain in the story.
I just refer to her now as Nurse Ratched. I think that's the best way to handle it, because it really is a great juxtaposition, Michelle, over two nurses and just personal attitude.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm proud of my choice.
By the way, knowing my luck, the Ebola nurse is definitely the witch I'm getting if I ever need a catheter.
Well, we'll save you, Johnny. Don't worry. Don't worry.
All right, Michelle, what do you have for us?
The winner of the year for me is David Brat. He shocked everyone by defeating the GOP establishment during the November election. Brat is backed by the Tea Party. In the November election, he beat Democrat Jack Tramiel. You may recall back in June, Brat ousted House Majority Leader Eric Cantor in the Republican primary for Virginia's 7th Congressional District. The 49-year-old is a native of Michigan and teaches economics at Randolph-Macon College in Virginia. Brat was also backed by conservatives like Ann Coulter and, of course, Laura Ingraham. I love this story because, he didn't have that much money when you look at, Eric Cantor and his campaign. And you constantly hear people say, oh, so-and-so bought the election, they have so much money. And I love this because Brad showed that that's not the case. If you have the right ideas and you are the right person and you connect with voters, you can win an election. It sort of was this grassroots a campaign, which I loved, and I think he is the winner in the election. What do you guys think?
Well, I think that was a wholehearted rejection of amnesty by the Republican base. Republican base just saying, we are not going to deal with amnesty in any capacity. We don't want it. You can't force feed it. And Eric Cantor was seen as the guy who is going to tell Republicans, you're going to take it, you're going to like it, and you don't have a choice. You don't have a say-so. And Republican voters said, no, we do have a say-so, and we don't like it. And as we look at the showdown that's going on in Washington right now over immigration, every Republican, and for that matter, every red state Democrat or purple state Democrat, should keep this race in the back of their mind when they think about how they're going to vote on amnesty, or they think about what they're going to do to an imperial president who wants us all to eat it.
This was such a joy when that occurred. And there's two things that I think happened that people haven't necessarily connected with. One, this could be, for the American voter, really the first strike of the midterm. And it also is attached to, if you'll notice, the end of the rhetoric against the Tea Party. It was a very interesting development, I found, that clearly Brat was a Tea Party insurgent, beat leadership. And I think, and you'll notice through the midterms, no, I didn't hear any real, the Tea Party is evil stuff coming out of the Republican machine at all. And I think that was perhaps the start of the realization that, whoa, wait a minute, we haven't beaten them. We don't have to become like them, but we at least maybe should stop calling them Nazis, that they're not the enemy. We can win this if we move forward together. And Brit Hume, after the midterm, said something very interesting. Brit Hume at Fox News. He says, yeah, and this was an election that went really smoothly because the Tea Party people weren't really a factor. And I thought to myself, the first one, Michelle, I thought was Dave Brat. Then I thought Mia Love. Then I thought Tom Cotton. And it was, the realization was the Tea Party individuals now are being at least accepted as part of the overall system. And that was, it hadn't been defeated. Don't tell us it's been defeated when you've got Mia Love walking in to the House of Representatives and Dave Brat. So I think it was a very good sign. It took down the rhetoric. It was an imperative victory. And Dave Brat, though, was a terrific candidate. It's one thing to be, some Tea Party insurgents don't win. But he was a great candidate and handled everything well.
Well, and just think about this for a second, because remember when the Occupy movement started popping up and they said, oh, this is fantastic. Occupy is the left-wing version of what the Tea Party is on the right. Look at the impact in those races that you just mentioned that the Tea Party still has on elections.
Yeah.
Where was Occupy this time around? In fact, we had a bunch of Democrats that were running away from the president, from the right. You had Kay Hagan that was running away from him. You had Pryor. You have Landrieu. You have Mark Begich in Alaska. Where were they?
Yeah, look, they were, Occupy was a false construct. It was a constructed, contrived dynamic for television. Tea Party was a natural, existing event, and the Tea Party itself was the end result of a change that I'd argued had already occurred. The Tea Party wasn't something to generate change. It was a reflection of something that had already happened. And I think that's why it's continued to last, and it will continue now to be a guiding force in our politics, and that's going to be a good thing, and it's going to save our country.
My pick for winner of the year is NBC Tonight Show host Jimmy Fallon. Fallon thrived as the late-night ratings race remains intense. Fallon continues to pull in more viewers than rivals David Letterman and Jimmy Kimmel. He's even getting more viewers than his predecessor did, Jay Leno. Fallon's pulling in over 4 million viewers every single night. Seth Meyers, whose show follows Fallon's, is also dominating in his own time slot. That's the 12:30 to 1:30 time slot. And I have to admit, Tammy, I didn't think he would be able to pull it off. I thought that getting rid of Jay Leno, who was doing well, who was leading the ratings race, was a huge mistake, and putting Jimmy Fallon in there was an unnecessary gamble. Turns out NBC execs finally got one right.
Yeah, look, this is where real leadership counts when it comes to entertainment, is knowing when a shift needs to occur. I'll be honest with you, I don't watch, but I see that people talk about it. He seems to not be doing anything controversial. He seems to understand, or at least certainly Lorne Michaels and others at NBC understand that, look, there's no reason to punch the audience in the face, and you want every American to be able to enjoy your program. That was the genius of Johnny Carson. It was the genius of Jay Leno, that you felt comfortable watching. Not all changes, of course, work. The View is going down the drain because people aren't comfortable watching. It comes down to whether or not you would want to invite a person literally into your home for dinner. And Jimmy Fallon seems to be a nice guy, and I think that's why he's winning.
Is that the headline here, Michelle, that Jimmy Fallon is likable?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is. It's like a likability. I think that he's doing the way that he went about it, I think, was good. He knows that, you know, Jay Leno had a very wide audience, and he didn't want to alienate a lot of those people who, you know, are in middle America. And he has sort of been non-controversial, which is probably a good thing. So I think he took a good approach. Whereas you talked about The View, Tammy, it's they're going way to the left, and that's why they're seeing a lot of their viewers. A lot of their viewers turn off the TV because they're alienating a lot of the people who watch the show.
Well, and that's exactly what CBS is doing now, because they picked Stephen Colbert to replace David Letterman. He hasn't taken over yet. Is Fallon going to expand the lead when Colbert takes over and pushes CBS farther to the left?
Yeah, look, I was thinking of Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert. Those are not guys who are going to be thinking about the business end, and because I don't think they're men who actually like the majority of the American public. I think when you're seeing Jimmy Fallon, you've got to be comfortable in really caring about the whole audience personally. I think that comes through. You can't fake it. And I don't think Jon Stewart or Colbert do. It works on their niche framework over there at the cable channel. But yeah, I think that it's going to be a problem because I don't think it's in his nature, either one of those two men, I just don't think that they like the majority of us. They like a section. They think perhaps they've been Gruberized. They think everyone else is just stupid. And it's going to have to, that's going to come through, and I don't think it's going to work well for him.
All right, that's going to do it for today's show. What do you think about our picks for winner of the year? Be sure to leave your comments in the comment section below. I'm John Phillips for Tammy Bruce, joining me here in Los Angeles, and Michelle Fields in Washington, D.C. Thanks so much for watching The Rundown.